Christine Ahn, the New York Times, reporting the Trump administration now considering settling for a nuclear freeze in North Korea after years of demanding full denuclearization. What exactly does that mean?
I think it just means that you need to strike an interim deal where you freeze North Korea's nuclear arsenal so that it's basically what came out of Hanoi, which was North Korea offered to dismantle Yongbyon and also put a moratorium on their nuclear and long-range missile tests. And the Trump administration wanted basically the Libya model, and so that wasn't going to work for North Korea. And the United States, they also, the North Koreans were demanding a partial lifting of the sanctions. So both sides left. And what happened was in April, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un gave a big speech at the Supreme People's Assembly, and he basically set a timetable. He said the U.S. needs to shift its position, basically, and come back to the table with a different stance. Otherwise, we can all conjecture what that means, possibly return back to the fire and fury, which obviously for Trump won't be good for his 2020 bid for president, because he has been basically saying that, well, we have succeeded in a freeze for freeze. North Korea has not been testing long-range missiles or nuclear weapons, so that is a good thing. And to be honest, I would agree with Trump in that stance. But I think that, what brought the Trump administration to this moment, besides Kim setting the timetable? One, the Libya model just does not work. And it has not succeeded, obviously, in forcing North Korea to give up its nuclear weapons. They have really run the end of the line on maximum pressure, forcing North Korea's denuclearization through sanctions. Really depends on China. And the U.S. is now in a trade war with China. And Xi Jinping's visit to China, to North Korea for the first time 10 days ago was clearly a sign that China holds the keys in terms of whether maximum pressure will succeed or not. And clearly, with the Mutual Defense Treaty between China and North Korea, that is not likely to happen. China will, ensure the security guarantee of North Korea. But also, we're seeing a massive humanitarian disaster. The World Food Program and FAO just came out with a major report. 10 million North Koreans are food insecure. 40% of the population are in dire need of food aid. The sanctions are impacting long-term humanitarian aid operations from conducting its daily operations in North Korea. Medicine is not getting into North Korea because of these sanctions. So it is a PR disaster for the Trump administration. And so they basically, have come out of, they've run out of options. And, this is the most pragmatic approach. Stephen Biegun, who Women Cross DMZ has met with, seems to me very, he's a seasoned diplomat. And I think that it's a good day that he is now charged with leading the working level negotiations with North Korea. His speech at Stanford before the Hanoi summit, which many of us thought was the trajectory that the Trump administration was on, seemed very pragmatic, which seemed very like basically dealing with North Korea as they are, not as we wish them to be. And so, back to the point about the presidential candidates, I think Sanders obviously chose the most strategic line. Denuclearization talks with North Korea is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long-term process. Sig Hecker from Stanford, the nuclear scientist, says it'll take 20 years for North Korea to completely denuclearize. It's going to be a long-term process. The Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot when they say that that they take the moral high ground, that they shouldn't engage North Korea or the evil regime in North Korea, because if they are president, it's going to come back to bite them. And frankly, we should attack Trump not from the right, but from the left, and, calling for consistent, reliable diplomacy, but also calling for a new approach that doesn't rely on the same failed model of maximum pressure or its predecessor, strategic patience.